and we're going to conclude at 10 o'clock sharp. So, I guess, Shola, that's my signal to start.
That was the cue.
Okay, well, welcome everybody to the Broadband Hui. This is number 206, and we've been convening stakeholders throughout the state for the last 206 since March of 2020. We'll do some quick introductions and then we'll get into our agenda. My name is Bert Lum. I'm the State Digital Equity Coordinator in DBED, the Hawaii Broadband and Digital Equity Office, and happily co-convene this with the County of Hawaii. And I'll give it over to Shola for some introductions.
Hello, good morning, everybody. I'm Shola Kahiapo-Trevino, and I'm the Digital Equity Specialist at the County of Hawaii and the Department of Research and Development. Mahalo for always letting me kokua, and I will pass it over to Riley.
Aloha, Riley Saito, County of Hawaii Research and Development, and often eat hard-boiled eggs. Here to actually energy specialist, but willing to and able to support digital equity and movements to establish that as a way of life in Hawaii.
Mahalo, Riley. Okay, we'll do some quick new people introductions, and I'll save Christine Park for a little later because she's going to actually do a presentation. But Amy, you want to do a quick intro?
Hi, I'm Amy Miwa. I'm Governor's Liaison for the east side of the Big Island.
Right on. Thanks for joining us. Let's see. Do I see any other names I'd like to call? Nope, I see all the regulars. You know, we are broadcasting on the community access pegs. So this is being broadcast on from as far north as Ho'ike on the island of Kauai, and then Olelo, Akaku, and Naleo on the Big Island. So, and that's part of the reason why we're sticking to such a strict time slot, as well as wanting to honor everybody's time for participating, in the Broadband Hui. So with that, let's see, I will hand it over to Shola for our mana'o of the day.
All right, here we go. So our mana'o of the day, I like to start every day with a little bit of gratitude in my own personal practice of my life. So today's mana'o is love the life you live and lead the life you love. I don't know, I thought that was very fitting just to kind of start every day off with some happiness that we get to spend this time together and share this life that is beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks, Shola. Nice to have that positivity. Now, where did that quote come from? I saw
it is from a song. This is from the artist Midnight.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, if y'all want to check it out, I've linked it in the agenda.
Well, that's good that you must think of this, throughout the week, trying to find different quotes.
Sometimes it's just first thing in the morning, but then I do think about it every single day. Like, what is something that's striking, that's making me think today?
Yeah, that's good. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Shola. Okay, so let's get into some of the agenda items, and I want to make sure that we give a good amount of time for people to ask some questions. But I want to welcome Christine Park, and Christine, you can do a quick intro, and then, what she's going to do is present her, I guess, part that she's playing in the long discussed DLIR project, which is called the Digital Work Skills Grant, which was the EdCase earmark that happened probably back in 2022, and we've been following it in the Broadband Hui, but it's actually getting implemented. And I asked Christine to do a presentation for us. So Christine, why don't you tell people what part of the DOE you're in, and you know, how this will impact some of the communities that you have access to.
Yeah, great. Hi, thanks everyone. I'm Christine Park. I'm with the Waipahu Community School for Adult. And I actually just have like a quick slideshow, if that's okay, to just walk you all through the services we offer with adult education, and then talk more specifically about the digital literacy grant. So let me just, there we go. Can you see this? Yeah, okay, great. Thank you. All right, so yes, I'm Christine. I'm with Waipahu Community School, and we are one of the adult education schools in the state of Hawaii. We service rural Oahu and all of Hawaii Island that I'll talk to you all a little bit about to show you the geographic regions. But for those of you that are not familiar with adult education, we primarily serve individuals who are 16 years and older, so individuals who were released from high school, as well as adults in the community that are 18 and over. Generally, our students are looking for skill development in either reading, numeracy, writing, work skills, and then digital literacy. So our programs are community-based. It offers flexibility and different learning opportunities. And then we've more recently been focusing on digital literacy. Our digital literacy program developed a little bit prior to the pandemic. Ala Souza did some first piloting with the North Star Digital Literacy Program, and we were actually one of his first pilot sites, and we've been running digital literacy classes at all of our campuses since then, and then recently receiving the digital literacy funding through DLIR to offer more classes and opportunities within our geographic regions. So here's our geographic regions. So we cover all of the windward side of Oahu, so from Waimanalo, which is actually where I have to get to right after this, so thank you for letting me go first. So from Waimanalo, coming all the way up to the west side, Kaneohe, Kahalu, Ka'awa, coming up to North Shore, into Wailua, down to Wahiwa, Mililani, Pearl City, Eva Beach, Kapolei, and then going out to the west side to Nanakuli and Waianae, and then we cover all of Hawaii Island. With that said, we do offer online classes that's available to the entire state. So McKinley Community School covers the rest of
Hey,
the
good. How's it going?
Hi, yes. Yep, just sharing a little bit about the adult schools. So we have McKinley, they cover all of Maui and Kauai, and then kind of more central or urban areas of Oahu. So being on Oahu, we do have classes that are going to be located in Honolulu through the American Job Center, as well as our public housing partnerships, and then our partnerships with public safety. And we are able to offer, this is where it gets a little tricky. We're able to offer virtual classes to Maui and Kauai, but virtual classes for digital literacy, we've done it before, and it is very challenging. But we are able to offer virtual digital literacy classes for individuals that have at least some basic understanding of how to get on through video conferencing. And so yeah, so that's an option. It is a little tricky to run digital literacy classes virtually though. So let me talk to you a little bit more, just kind of about the overview of our programs. So part of adult education, we are part of the Hawaii Workforce Pathways System. So our goal really in education is to help individuals transition into the community or gain enough skills and skills to be functional in society. So seeking employment, post-secondary opportunities, we get lots of parents and grandparents in kupuna that want to be able to help their children or grandchildren in school. So some of our curriculum also focuses on helping parents help their kids with some of the programs and technology they're using in the school system. It's like Infinite Campus is one of the programs that DOE uses that we can help parents learn how to use. And then we do English language acquisition. So one of our kind of cornerstone programs, in addition to high school equivalency, is English language acquisition. And that's for individuals who don't speak English as their primary language. So we do have ELA classes that are available at different levels. So I say that to say that, you know, all of our classes do kind of come from this developmental perspective of understanding that individuals come with different reading levels and different writing abilities and different skill levels within the realm of academia. So our digital literacy classes are appropriate for individuals with limited English proficiency, in part because ELA is part of our specialty within adult education. Okay. And so here's just kind of an overview of the different programs we offer. So most people know us for high school equivalencies for students who are getting their GED. That's what most people know. We also have workforce development programs. We have programs to help individuals transition to college and careers. We have the English language acquisition, and then the digital literacy, which is what I'm really here to talk about. But with the digital literacy, essentially any of the students that come to our program, they could be coming in for high school equivalency. But in our work with them, we recognize they need digital literacy or they need support with transitioning to college or workforce. So our perspective has always been get them in the door, help students get in the door, and then look at what other things do they need to really be functioning adults in the society and contributing members of our society. And sometimes it starts with digital literacy, but then it also includes helping them apply for jobs or helping them go to college or helping them enter the workforce. So it is kind of a comprehensive kind of perspective on learning to help individuals accomplish whatever goals they have, or maybe they don't even necessarily know what's out there. So our goal is really, you know, centered around these programs, but with a larger perspective of helping individuals be successful in whatever that might mean for them. So we do offer digital literacy classes as part of this grant. They are still kind of up and coming. We're kind of in the very infancy stages. The grant has been a long time coming. We're actually kind of well into the grant cycle. So we're going to be rolling it out, and we're going to be rolling it out quick. Our classes are going to be structured between 6 to 40 hours of instruction. And I say 6 to 40 hours because it's going to depend on the format of our partners. So I'll give you a couple of examples. We're going to be partnering with Windward Community College to offer a once a month little workshops that are going to run 2 to 3 hours, a couple of days a month. And then we're also going to be running 2-week intensives for like freshman orientation. Within our current class structure, we offer classes 5 times a year. And I'll show you the schedule of our regular campuses in a couple of slides. But the classes that we offer on our campus will be ranging from 35 to 40 hours of instruction. So the classes we're going to be rolling out into the community might be short-term workshops to longer-term programs. And the goal is really to just meet students where they're at. You know, if they're needing just a little bit of comprehensive information, or if they're needing just really basic skill development, we've got that. And then we've got some that will lead more towards credentials and certificates in Microsoft Office. We are going to be purchasing some software and licenses to offer certificates in Microsoft Office and Excel and so forth. With that, the curriculum we're using is North Star, which many of you are likely familiar with already. We also have Essential Education, Connectable When Learning, Microsoft, and then Google Workspace. So we are going to be utilizing a variety of different learning tools. And the rollout of that is really going to be just dependent on what the community needs. So like Windward Community College got very specific objectives for us. If our community partners have very specific objective and learning outcomes, we can work around that. So if there's an area in your community within our geographic regions, or virtually if you're in Maui County or Kauai, and you're needing support, then we can kind of work with you to design classes and programs to fit your clientele. So for example, another one would be with the American Job Center. It's really centered on basic skill development for them to be able to apply for jobs and then be more employable. And so we run currently kind of like a 2-week boot camp for them to give basic literacy and computer skills and typing skills. And so we do track and measure different data points according to what our partners need. So in looking at some of the different data, so Bert, we did include some of your demographic, which we generally collect a lot of that information already. We're going to be administering a pre and post assessment. For the DLIR grant, the questions that they have, it's pretty basic. And the questions for the pre and post for the purpose of the grant is really centered around how are they accessing technology. We're going to take it a bit further and look at actual learning objectives and measure in the beginning what their skill is at, and then the skills that they walk away. We're going to be collecting also demographic information. And one of the things we have to do as a AFLA, Adult Education Family Literacy Act, it's kind of our overarching federal funding, is we have to measure and collect data on barriers to employment. So we're also going to be looking at that kind of data as well. Okay, so here's a general class schedule. And again, we're community-based. So some of the digital literacy classes that we're going to be rolling out, and once we get those kind of up and going, we'll be sending out, I'll be sending out flyers and emails to the Hui. So then you all can be informed of when the different classes are going to run and how to register. But generally within our campuses, we've got main campuses up in Wahiwa Lalehua High School, Waipahu High School, Kapolei, Waianae, and Kalaheo on the windward side. And then we have a main campus in Hilo and Kona. And all of those main campuses run about 40-hour term classes. So summer runs from about mid-June to late July, August through September, and then we've got like mid-October through December, then January through February, and then March to May. So you can think about the regular DOE schedule, and with fall break and with spring break and with winter, and that's kind of the schedule that we're aligning to as well, where we've got 2 terms in each semester and then summer. So 5 terms a year, they run for about 6 to 7 weeks, generally 2 times a week for 3 hours, so 6 hours a week. We do have both in person and online. A majority of the digital literacy classes are going to be in person with some online option. And again, the online gets a little tricky. It ends up being us, our instructors, talking to students like an hour, 2 hours before even the start of class, walking them through like, okay, where's the power button? Okay, what do you see? You push it. All right, now tell me what's on your screen. Okay, great. Are you gonna go to, okay, do you see an icon? Do you see like a little shape that's red and green and yellow? Okay, can you click on that? So it is, it can be very basic, just depending on the skill level, which are, again, our virtual ones can get a little tricky. Okay. And then here's contact information. I'll put this in the chat as well for anyone that wants to know a little bit more. Or if you have a community that you're meeting some digital literacy classes and you're wanting to have a conversation about how we can bring that to you, then feel free to let me know. All of these classes are going to be free. So they're going to be free and covered through funding with the grant. And yeah, oh, let me leave that up. Okay, I'm going to put my information in the chat. And then if there are any questions, I'm glad to answer anything for anyone.
So Christine, are you gonna send me this presentation and I can share it with the Hui mailing list? That'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and you mentioned the ability to actually offer classes, but I guess virtual on Kauai and Maui. I'm assuming you know that McKinley did not opt into this program, so they're not providing the coverage that we had hoped to be statewide. Do you see the capacity for Waipahu to, I guess, cover what the McKinley, is now not going to do?
I know that they do offer some digital literacy classes with their campuses already. So McKinley in town, their main hub at McKinley High School, they've got their own adult ed building down there. They are offering some digital literacy classes built into their existing schedule. It was my understanding that they weren't going to do any additional with the funding of this grant. And so really the only ways that we as a Waipahu Community School within our geographic region is to offer some virtual support. Our principal, Pat Anbe, works very closely with Helen Sanpe, who's the principal for McKinley. And so we actually have a meeting with them on Friday. So we'll talk a little bit more with them about how, how we can better support the whole state and see what digital literacy classes they're offering. And then talk to them about the possibility of even the possibility of doing virtual within their geographic regions gets a little tricky. And with that,
I understand how virtual can be, especially if somebody's going into digital literacy 001. You mentioned partners, like you have Windward Community College. Are those partners? Could you leverage those partners on Kauai and Maui to the extent where they can be, the in-person
possibility
kind of classroom?
we could possibly work with the different community colleges and see what that would roll out to look like. It's likely that those places are already offering. So I wanted to also mention the other part of this grant includes the public libraries. So the public libraries are also supposed to be offering some of the classes. So at least in terms of the adult education component, I know that this is what we can offer, and this is kind of what our plans for the use of funds are. But the public libraries also do have like a separate pot from this particular grant. So it's likely that the libraries are going to be running classes. And I'm not sure if there's anyone from the libraries here. But this grant was actually specifically designed to kind of like pick up where the libraries have, they're going to be offering little short-term workshops, and we're going to be picking up and then offering some additional in the community as well. So it's supposed to kind of be, piggybacking off of each other. So
well,
go ahead, Bert.
So Christine, magically, Stacy just appeared.
Oh, yay. Yay. Hi, Stacy. We have to talk. I'm so excited to work with this, to get this out and rolling. Perfect timing.
Absolutely. Good morning. Yeah, we just put an RFP out to have a vendor help us provide a minimum of 4 classes per month in basic digital literacy skills in every single library in the state. So we're just reading them now, and by hopefully next week we'll have somebody on board to do it, so we can be a companion to the work that you all are doing. So we're very excited to work with you.
Yeah, we're super stoked. Let's connect at some point, Stacey, and then we can figure out, because what we want to make sure that we're covering and being strategic in the coverage of the different communities and populations. So we also don't want to duplicate too much. So let's figure out how we can coordinate so that we're using the funds so that it's rolling out in a way that makes the most sense for our communities.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, thanks, Christine. Thanks, Stacy, and I'm super happy that you are on the call. This is a program that we've been really kind of waiting to roll out and kind of learn best practices from it. And I'm glad now we do have a kind of a real good sort of statewide strategy here. So we'll continue this discussion and I'll bring together the resources that library as well as adult school can bring to the table. So any other questions for Christine? Okay, well, seeing none, I guess we can let you go for now, Christine, but since you're on the Hui and you've been on the Hui, I know, getting our emails since well into 2023, but now that you're rolling on a program, I think we're going to have you come on as a regular participant.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you for this opportunity. I look forward to connecting with everyone and really being a contributor to the overall effort. I saw a couple of people put chat things in there, so I'm just going to go in and respond really quick. And then I'm going to head out to Manalo and talk to them about digital literacy and classes.
Do you want to respond to them verbally?
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna type. I think some wanted some different contact information, so I'm just gonna put some stuff in the chat.
Okay, sounds good. All right, okay, so moving on to the next little piece of the agenda. I just have one thing on the policy subgroup, and we are in the process of requesting a signing ceremony for HB 2359. And Chung, do you want to give us any update on that? I think Karen is out till the 14th, so maybe if there's a way to make sure that it's after the 14th.
Yeah, thanks, Bert. So the first step is providing our recommendation. So we submitted that. So officially, our recommendation is to sign the bill, so it goes into law. And the follow up to that is requesting the governor to sign it in a public ceremony setting versus just signing it and processing it. So that request is going to go in. Now it has very limited space in that ceremonial room, so I don't know how you want to do it, Bert, but yeah, I guess we
I'm going to be
can-
selling tickets, Chung.
What we're going to do is, first reach out to those that were instrumental in getting this measure passed. So that'll take up probably half the room, half the space. So the seating capacity is 20. I don't know if they'll allow standing room, but that's what we've been told initially. So 20, and then maybe we can squeeze some other people in. And then after it gets signed, it goes into effect immediately. And we put it that way because we need some time to set up some administrative rules and the rules to run that grant program. And there's a deadline to it. We have to get it done by end of this year. So that it's effective January 1st. So a lot to happen between now and signing and getting it all set up. And that's what it looks like right now. Thanks, Bert.
Okay, thanks, Chung. And we'll keep people posted because, this process, whether it's the official date of its effectiveness, the signing ceremony, and then the rules, the Broadband Hui is going to play a key part in a lot of that because we do need some public comment, on the rules that we start to draft. But anyway, we'll get into more detail as we move along the timeline. But wanted to let you folks all know that we're working on the signing ceremony. So thanks, Chung. Appreciate it. All right, next up, we've got some continued update from the UH team. And this is all about the challenge process and what needs to happen in each of the communities to prepare for the BEAD RFP. So Micah, I want to take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Bert. Here's my screen. So this is the last portion of our 4-part series where we're going over the different challenge types. And we gave an overview also on the challenge process itself. So in all of that material you can watch previously. And for today's agenda, I'm going over the last set, which is the locations, is a CAI, is not a CAI, enforceable commitments, and planned service. So to start off, as always, just want to level set everyone again, why we're doing this challenge process. It's the opportunity for Hawaii to create the most complete map of broadband access in the state for BEAD funding, to ultimately, connect those places that don't have the infrastructure with the BEAD funding. And so part of this challenge process, what we're not challenging in this challenge process is adding or removing dots. So if you recall, there's an FCC map out there with something like this. We're not adding or removing dots in our challenge process. We're also not correcting any information about those dots, such as the address or its classification. What we are doing is we're trying to identify CAIs, community anchor institutions, and then identify those that lack 1 gigabit symmetrical speeds, served, unserved, and underserved locations, any enforceable commitments, and planned service. And for the sake of time, I won't go over the definitions again, but you can read it. Again, there's unserved, underserved, and community anchor institutions. And if they fall into these 3 buckets, they'd be eligible for BEAD funding. And we've been going over the 11 challenge types that are in the challenge process, but today we're only focusing on these remaining 5. So to start off with, the location is a CAI challenge. The goal of this challenge is to identify community anchor institution locations in Hawaii. And so what this challenge is describing is that the location on our BEAD portal to be coming should be classified as a CAI because it meets the Hawaii Initial Proposal Volume 1 CAI definition. So naturally, if the location is not already considered a CAI, you would use this challenge to help classify that location as a CAI. And as of today, I guess you can't see that photo, but these are the different categories of institutions that we have in our Volume 1 initial proposal that are considered community anchor institutions. So we have schools, libraries, health centers, public safety entities, higher education, public housing, jails and prisons, youth correctional centers, job training centers, houseless support, and community centers. The last 5 fall under this this community support organization definition. And for CAIs that fall under that, they have to meet these 4 criteria, which is they need to have a physical location, so it can't be like a tent to deploy broadband to. The location must be dedicated to the organization's usage, so it can't be like someone's house. The organization, part of their mission, involves or plans to involve broadband usage by vulnerable populations, and it has to be public facing in nature. So there's no paid or unpaid membership to access the location. And so if you want to file this challenge to identify CAIs, basically need to provide some documentation that it would fall under the definition. So that could be like a website screenshot, a brochure or flyer from the organization, and then a rebuttal to that would be, it's not a CAI. This challenge is incorrect. The location is actually not a CAI, and you could provide evidence that it's not a CAI. And an important thing is that we would like you to show that the physical address, so not the mailing address, because I know sometimes on people's brochure, they put like mailing addresses. We would want to see the physical address, the physical structure's address. And note that the challengers and rebuttals can be any one of these 3 entities. So local government, nonprofit, and ISPs. The location is not a CAI challenge, is pretty much the flip of this location is. So we have the list of CAIs. If we have misclassified them for any reason, then you would file this challenge to basically take it off our list so that they're not a CAI. And the reason why you want to do that is because the location is actually, in fact, a residence. It's not a CAI, or the CAI is no longer in operation. And the challenge evidence is the flip. So to file this challenge, you want to show that this location is not a CAI, and a rebuttal is this location is a CAI. Okay, so that's the CAI challenges. The next is enforceable commitment challenge. So this one is, the goal is to identify locations that are under some sort of contract to receive high-speed internet. And the reason why we would want to file this challenge is because BEAD cannot duplicate funding. So for example, if the location is in the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund, or RDOF location, BEAD can't duplicate the funding that's going to RDOF, or the locations in RDOF, because that's part of the rules that we have. So we want to find these locations, find these areas, and if somehow you as the community know this, you can file this challenge that you know that there's a contract to deploy high-speed internet to this location. And so the evidence that you would need to submit is some sort of legal looking documentation that's an enforceable commitment, whether an authorization letter, some sort of contract, or you can screenshot a government website stating this. A rebuttal to that would be the location is not within an enforceable commitment, or that, there was a contract there, but for some reason the contract is now void, or the provider can't meet this commitment. And so you would need to submit evidence as a rebuttal to that. The not enforceable commitment challenge is the flip of this one. So the goal is that to identify locations that are not part of an enforceable commitment and therefore should be considered for BEAD funding. And so if within like an enforceable commitment area, not 100% of that area is going to be covered for whatever reason, and you know that somehow, then you would file this challenge to say that, hey, this location is actually not part of this enforceable commitment and therefore should be considered for BEAD funding. And again, the evidence is the inverse of the enforceable commitment. So you want to show that this location is not within the contract or scope of work, or that the provider has defaulted on this commitment. And then rebuttals would be the commitment is still going on, it's enforceable, they're able to meet the commitment, and it's actually all of those locations. And the final challenge type that I'll be going over today is called planned service. This one is more leaning towards the ISPs because the goal of this is to identify locations that would already be considered served without BEAD funding. So they would be getting infrastructure to get that 100 over 120 megabits per second broadband. And so if this challenge is filed, the location would need to have broadband deployed to that location and serviceable by June 30th of this year to be considered a planned service challenge. And this is also like without an enforceable commitment. So it's kind of like if the provider is just expanding its network, and they could file this challenge to say like, hey, we're already going to be covering this. This is part of our plan. And so the challenge would be that you would have to submit a contract or some sort of evidence that deployment is actively going on, and that's going to be completed by June 30th of 2024. A rebuttal is that somehow you can show that the provider is not going to be able to meet that planned service commitment by June 30th, 2024. And so therefore, this challenge wouldn't apply. And so those are the last remaining challenges that I have. A refresher on the timeline, the challenge process, we're still looking at July of 2024 to start this. And then the different phases are in August and September. Some next steps for everybody on the Hui call. You can visit the UH Broadband website, particularly the initial proposal page. And if you scroll down to the bottom, I can share afterwards, though, you'll see the updated list of community anchor institutions that you can look at for the CAI challenges. And then tomorrow we'll be having a webinar on all the different challenge types. So if you've missed any of the previous ones, you can come to this one. Or if you know of people who aren't in the Hui who would be interested, please send them that way. And finally, excitingly, we'll be opening the registration page for the challenge process. So if you're local government, nonprofit, ISP, you'll be able to register for the challenge process. And that's coming soon. And beforehand, you'll need to provide your employer identification number. If you're an ISP, your FCC registration number. And then this is optional, but it'll be helpful for us to identify who's submitting the form, some sort of registration saying like who you are. And that's it.
Micah, you know that last slide you had about the registration page, is that part of ready.net, or is that something before you get to ready.net?
That is with ready.net.
Okay. And do you plan to kind of like showcase the actual portal in an upcoming Broadband Hui?
Yes.
Okay,
But
so
it's just,
you
it would
let me
just
know
be the
when the date
registration
for that.
page. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let
Okay.
you know.
Okay, sounds good. Any questions? Any questions for Micah? Okay, Phil.
Micah, thanks for the great presentation. I was curious, the CAIs, some of those are multiple buildings, and when it wants an address, could you clarify when they are multiple buildings in a particular location, be it a hospital or a school, when you need to pick an address, what strategy should we use? Thanks.
So I know that like certain CAIs, they kind of overlap with the building, like you're saying. So a clinic and the hospital might be in the same lot, but two different addresses. So I would say pick the one that is most public facing, if that makes sense. So whatever people typically identify that CI where its address is, use that.
Okay, thanks. Thanks very much.
Hey, Riley.
Hey, Micah, because I've been spending time looking for community anchor institution. I know you have a list somewhere. How can we take a look at what's currently on the list?
Yes, great question. I'll share my screen right now. So this is our UH website, hawaii.edu/broadband. If you go under our efforts initial proposal, you'll be taken to this page. You scroll, well, right here is where you can read the definition for a CAI. And then here on the bottom, under the supplemental document section, you'll see the community anchor institution lists that we have. So this section is the entire state, and then this one is broken up by county.
It's funny because I just landed on that page. I didn't scroll down yet, but I figure I ask you and you'd have an answer faster. So thanks.
And Micah is just as good as ChatGPT. Okay, any other questions for Micah? Good stuff. I know this is all coming up pretty quick. Okay, Micah, mahalo. And I had on the agenda the session tomorrow, so you folks can register for that. I would highly recommend it if you are interested in anything to do with the challenge process, because it's good to hear this information repeatedly. There's a lot of detail, and it sort of, you know, sinks in after multiple presentations. So good job, Micah. Okay, well, we're coming to the last 15 minutes. I do want to let you all know that we're trying to stick to the 1 hour time limit to respect your time and to make sure that we are able to rebroadcast this on the community television channels. I do want to share my screen real quickly and show you and remind everybody what the timeline for the digital equity capacity grant is. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, so basically, I shared this earlier, but I think it bears repeating. You know, we are currently in this outline in red area, April through June of 2024, where we have already gotten, you know, our instructions on responding and basically applying for the digital equity capacity grant. And our hard deadline, you know, is May 28th. But we have some other departments that need to review our application. So our application is actually going in pretty early. I mean, it's we're targeting end of this week, early next week, to get our application in through the departments that need to take a look at it and give it their blessing. Then we'll be putting it up on the NTIA grant portal for upload and submittal to the NTIA. Now, what that does is that it officially puts us into the queue for an application approval. And that is what we hope to see from NTIA sometime between May and August. So once we get the green light on our digital equity capacity grant application, we will be spending some quality time with all the potential projects that are queuing up. So many of you have had conversations with me about potential projects, and we've gotten some emails outlining what the suggestion and recommendation is for those projects from the counties. So we will be starting a more detailed review of those projects in this window between September, August, September timeframe of 2024 to April 2025, which is a 9-month window that the NTIA has provided us. Now, our sense of it is that NTIA will kind of like go first in, first out as a process protocol. So the sooner we get something in, the sooner they will get it out. So I would not wait for 9 months and wait till like April to get something to us, because what we would like to do is, with the projects that are already in queue, get some detail on that, get the approval from NTIA on a project by project basis, and then we can proceed with getting some funds to those projects as we move down that timeline. And again, we'll have more information about exactly how some of this procurement is going to take place, because in parallel with this, we're going to be doing the digital equity grant program. There will probably be an RFP that folks need to respond to. So there's a number of procedural things for the not only procurement, but for the selection process of these projects during this period of time. So again, first in, first out, sooner the better. We'll be working pretty feverishly in this sort of last quarter of 2024. So that's kind of the timeline. Once we start to get the funds, we'll get it into the hands of those projects for implementation, and then from 25, the beginning of year 2025, we'll be looking at monitoring and measuring the objectives, as we move down the timeline. So that's kind of the events that will happen as we go through the rest of 2024 into 2025. I just wanted to share that and kind of remind everybody what sort of timeline we're working under. Chung, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, so in all likelihood, the deployment of funds that have to go through the procurement process won't see funding probably not until early spring-ish 2025. Now, the public partners, the sister state agencies and the counties, they don't have to go through an RFP procurement process. So they may see funding earlier than that, but the other than that, the RFP process, that we have to go through, probably the deployment will be, early next year, for funds to the community groups.
Thanks, John. And even if we were, following that timeline, as we get money to some of the government agencies that are interested in helping to aggregate projects, they will still need to go through their procurement and selection process as well. So, there is still a lot of procedural things that need to happen before, money gets into the hands of the frontline folks working on the specific projects, whether it be digital literacy or device distribution. So anyway, that's kind of the timeline. That's why it's kind of really exciting to have Christine Park and the libraries, Stacy, rolling out the digital work skill grant project, which is the EdCase earmark. So that's going to help us kind of get activity going even as we go through this particular process with the digital equity capacity grants. Okay, so any questions about some of the digital equity activities that are going on? Okay. Oh, Tyler, how's it? Long time no see. How's it, Skylar? Can I hear you? Skylar.
I don't think his mic is working. He said that he'll put it
Skylar,
in
you
the
got all
chat.
you got all the tech over there, but it's not working.
He'll
Okay,
put his
so yeah.
question in the chat.
Okay, put it in the chat and then we'll try to answer that. Okay, what is DD? Oh, okay, so yeah, disability division. So again, what we are encouraging is, again, the assignment is read the digital equity plan, look at the strategies that are outlined and the objectives, and we are encouraging departments, agencies to come up with some proposals for projects addressing specifically those covered populations. So, Tyler, to your point, we haven't received anything yet, but we highly encourage any of those organizations to take a look at how they might want to tackle addressing the covered populations. And again, we've talked about the digital equity plan and how the focus is on covered populations. And one of the key metrics that we're going to be reporting back up to the NTIA is, not only are we doing digital literacy classes or any kind of the programmatic stuff that we're doing, how does it impact those specific covered populations? So whether it's specific for individuals with disabilities, there's also categories for covered populations, which include kupuna, veterans, incarcerated, people in rural communities, low income. So there's a whole, you can take a look at the plan and it pretty much outlines all 8, 9 of those covered populations. So Tyler, hope I answered that question. Talk to your people and see if we can get something crafted. Riley.
Not to make things more complicated, but it might. So tying it to the community anchor institutions, the gig up and gig down. So the challenge or the capability of a gig up and down access is to the curb, is my understanding. So are there ISP infrastructure at the doorstep or at the curb ready to provide a gig up and down? Okay. If it's not, then, BEAD funds could be used to enable that access speed. Now, once inside the curb, there's the actual utilization or, within the building, within the campus. I'll use Monaca's, our park, Gilcahele Recreational Park on the Big Island. We have a point of entry there that's hot, but that's, like 5-6 acres that you got to light up to actually get infrastructure to the cabin and the common area facilities. And so does that DE funding take care of that infrastructure? It's inside the curb.
The DE funding?
Mhm.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a pretty easy answer.
Yeah, so that's something that actually needs to be addressed some way and somehow. Is
Yeah,
once
and
you get inside the curb.
I think that's a good question, and I think that's something that we probably can talk about, with the BEAD team. All right, so with that, we're going to be winding down our Broadband Hui call for this week. We do have an obligation to put this contact title page up so that anybody who's watching on community access can follow up and find out more information about the Broadband Hui and how to join. And I have a number there that is my office number. If anybody calls, please leave a message, because oftentimes I get all kinds of calls that might be selling me something. So if you leave a message, then I can follow up. But with that, I want to wish everybody a great week, and we will see you all next week on the 15th. I guess it's the 15th of May. And Shola, you want to go ahead and close us out?
Alrighty, mahalo everyone for joining us for the 206th convening of the Broadband Hui. Stay safe and stay awesome, everyone. We'll see you next week. Mahalo nui.
Okay, aloha everybody.
Mahalo, aloha.